In a crowded Manhattan courtroom, the barriers surrounding one of the most influential individuals in hip-hop finally began to crumble. Not due to a famous person's remarks or another released film, but rather to a man who, up until now, the public hardly knew. On day 7 of the trial, sources inside the courtroom say jurors went pale as one of Dill's claims was confirmed on video. Diddy's hands trembled, and he looked broken. What happens when the man who once protected you turns into the one who tears your empire down? This isn't just testimony. It's the moment Diddy's defense may have truly collapsed. John Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has been speaking out for years, but no one has listened. Now that shocking footage and witness testimony have surfaced, Deal's long-ignored warnings have become undeniable. Let's examine how Gandal's receipts completely altered the course of events. Despite his years of rhetoric, virtually no one in the public took him seriously. Sean Diddy Combs Beams's former bodyguard at the height of Bad Boy Records. Deal accompanied Diddy for years, appearing in innumerable interviews and podcasts to observe both the public image and the inner turmoil. Gene revealed a darker side to Diddy's glitz. Until recently, many blamed violent outbursts, manipulation, surveillance, and even sinister parties with celebrities and minors on bitterness or fame-seeking. However, now that Diddy is in the midst of his federal sex trafficking trial, his claims aren't just coming back. They're being verified in court agreements that he ran his empire more like a military operation than a music label, with staff members assigned roles, secrets locked down, and privacy being an illusion, he claims. In previous years, Deal claimed to have seen instances of physical abuse between Diddy and Kim Porter, the late mother of several of Diddy's children. He claimed to have used narcotics or terror allegiance to control everyone, from musicians to aides. "I will never forget what I saw," Deal once remarked. "I kept my mouth shut for too long." What's important now is that the details of his stories, especially about parties and alleged assaults, are lining up with new testimony in court. Witnesses are describing eerily similar scenes: confiscated phones, private rooms, intoxicated guests, and coercion. In 2016, the courtroom changed for the first time. It wasn't just allegations, but patterns. The prosecution is constructing a case that this wasn't a man who lost control once. Rather, he created a system to stay in control constantly, and Gene Deal was there to witness it. What is now horrifyingly obvious is that his stories weren't just believable. They might have been the truth all along. While most celebrity scandals end due to a smoking gun, this one might end due to a man who isn't famous and has no motive to lie. In a recent interview, Deal admitted to feeling complicit in the silence that allowed Diddy's behavior to go unchecked. He also described the infamous Freakoff's private gatherings where Diddy allegedly forced women and men into sexual acts while recording the entire event, claiming it wasn't just about pleasure, but about leverage. According to new legal analysts covering the case, the jury may be forced to take his testimony seriously because his accounts are not just shocking but consistent. These claims now mirror Cassie Venter's claims, Lil Rod's federal lawsuit, and statements from other accusers, some of which make reference to NDA's secret recordings and threats, making Deal's statements even more troubling. Deal claimed that the camera was always rolling and that if you ever turned on Diddy, he had the footage to destroy you. Deal implies that Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, may have encouraged some of his son's darker tendencies. According to Gone, the family taught control rather than discouraged it. He recounted instances in which Janice allegedly operated a modeling agency that was really a front for a brothel that catered to affluent customers. The court hasn't confirmed those claims, but the prosecution appears to be weaving a larger narrative that Diddy's actions weren't random. Rather, they were inherited, refined, and enforced. During the most recent trial session, a courtroom observer reported that several jurors visibly reacted when one witness's account mirrored Gene's earlier interviews, and when one of Deal's previously denied stories was mentioned in court documents, Diddy reportedly muttered under his breath and asked to be excused, stating that he was nervous. This was the first noticeable crack in Diddy's otherwise unwavering demeanor. If Gondal takes the stand, it's highly likely that he won't just be testifying as a witness. He'll be confirming the world Diddy built with someone finally brave enough to expose it, as Diddy's lawyers scrambled to control the courtroom narrative. One thing is becoming painfully clear. Their approach wasn't designed to deal with someone like Deal. They anticipated hysterical ex-partners and denials, but they didn't anticipate a stoic ex-bodyguard with no stakes and a memory consistent with the proof. Deal has openly stated that he told Diddy to change his ways years ago, particularly after Cassie Ventura broke up with him and started threatening legal action. He claimed to have seen Diddy disregard his own attorneys, reject settlement offers, and increase hostility with people around him. He said that the same pattern was now playing out in real time. Prosecutors disclosed that earlier this year, Diddy turned down several plea deals that could have saved him decades in prison. Instead, he allegedly insisted on fighting it all the way. According to Deal, Diddy believes in his untouchability, but on day 6 of the trial, sources claim that Diddy appeared paler than usual, trembled during cross-examinations, and at one point asked the judge for a break, saying, "Excuse me, I'm a little nervous." In addition to exposing what prosecutors refer to as enterprise-level crimes, this man, who once called himself a savage and partied with presidents and billionaires, is now pleading for mercy as the walls close. In his own words, this wasn't a man going crazy. Rather, it was a man planning events with drug suppliers, event planners, NDAs, and security. At last, the court is framing these stories not as conspiracies, but as criminal infrastructure. But it doesn't end there. As the case moves forward, the defense is rushing to discredit Deal, but they are running out of time, because every day he isn't. Called, more evidence seems to support his statements whether he takes the stand or not. Deal also claimed to have seen Diddy use his influence to silence employees, buy off victims, and remove threats, sometimes through bribes, other times through intimidation. This is precisely the kind of systemic behavior required to prove racketeering, the kind that carries federal sentences. For years, rumors of Diddy's alleged violent outbursts and manipulative behavior were mostly limited to gossip blogs or anonymous tips. But now that a deal has been reached that details specific incidents that are consistent with sworn testimony and police reports, those rumors have evolved into something the jury can no longer ignore in interviews dating back almost 10 years. Gondal has already changed the course of this trial, and for Diddy, that may be the most dangerous thing of all. Deal's accounts not only support the prosecution's evidence, they also change how the public and the jury perceive the abuse allegations. Deal recounted an incident in which Kim Porter, Diddy's ex-partner and the mother of 3 of his children, had to physically defend herself from Diddy by cutting his wrist with a broken object following a violent argument. At the time, people rejected Deal's account as fabricated, but during the trial, new testimony revealed that Porter had been seen at Cedars-Sinai Hospital shortly after an undisclosed domestic dispute, even though she never publicly spoke out. Deal's timeline and the ER report aligned, providing his version of events. New Weight Deal also described with striking clarity the environment surrounding the now infamous freak-offs, the alleged drug-fueled sex parties at Diddy's mansion. According to Deal, these events weren't spontaneous. They were choreographed. Security was told to confiscate phones, the lighting was set to specific tones, and guests were instructed on where to go and what to wear. These lines up almost exactly with what Cassie Ventura and other women have testified to, including claims that they were invited to participate in sex acts they never fully agreed to. Diddy allegedly referred to the events as experiences and was known to watch recordings of them after the fact, something Deal says he personally witnessed. Cassie herself admitted that during the early years of her relationship with Diddy, she was complicit, scheduling some of the parties, arranging for other women, and at times supplying drugs, but she explained this as part of the psychological control she was under. And again, Deal's interviews backed this up. They didn't even know they were being abused. Diddy made them feel like they owed him. This recontextualization of abuse from impulsive anger to a calculated system of psychological domination is perhaps the most damaging thing. Deal's testimony demonstrates that Diddy wasn't just a man who lost it. Rather, he allegedly created situations where people felt too weak or inebriated to refuse, which is not only unethical but illegal in court. If the courtroom served as the outer stage, Deal had access to the backstage area and was the backbone of the bad boy empire, which was responsible for making sure Diddy was safe. But what he witnessed behind those velvet ropes has now been used as damning testimony in a number of podcasts. In a 2022 interview, Deal portrayed Bad Boy not as a music label, but rather as a lifestyle cult where loyalty was enforced through intimidation and shame, and where drug use, sex, and violence weren't just accepted but required. Deal claimed that the headquarters was set up like a command center and that surveillance systems weren't just for fans or intruders. They were inward-facing and used to monitor employees, partners, and even romantic relationships. This revelation gains weight given that prosecutors have now submitted photos and metadata from surveillance cameras inside one of Diddy's New York properties. The most unsettling aspect of Deal's memories, however, may be what he refers to as grooming protocol. He claimed that those who resisted were promptly cut off, while those who complied became frequent attendees at parties and, in certain situations, Diddy's romantic partners. New hires or collaborators, especially women, were frequently put through an exposure process where they would be tested to see how far they would go. They would fly them out, get them high, and then watch what they did on camera. Deal was also able to observe how certain dangers were eliminated because of his closeness. Deal claims that one woman attempted to reveal a drug event involving a young artist, and the following week, she was traveling to Paris with a cash envelope and a non-disclosure agreement. It's a well-oiled machine. Deal stated that there isn't pandemonium. It's organization masquerading as anarchy according to legal experts. This is a crucial distinction for the prosecution because it paints the alleged crimes as part of a planned operation rather than sporadic, careless behavior. Deal's testimony, should he take the stand, could be the thread that connects decades of accusations because he is aware of the locations of the cameras, when the security guards were instructed to turn away, and how the empire protected itself while trafficking in silence and secrets. Diddy has always been about picturing the champagne and fur coats. He positioned himself as a music magnate and a symbol of power on the private planes and at the all-white Hampton parties, but in court, that image is crumbling, and no one has brought that to light more clearly than Gone. On the sixth day of the trial, reporters noticed a significant change in Diddy's appearance. His once large-than-life aura had vanished, and he appeared pale and worn out. One journalist from The Breakfast Club said, "It's like he aged 5 years in 5 days." Deal had previously stated that Diddy's worst fear wasn't going to jail because it wasn't important. He could handle prison, but he couldn't handle not being seen, Deal said, and now he's in the middle of a trial where every detail is undermining the image he spent decades creating. The prosecution strategy has been to dismantle the myth, using witness after witness to erode Diddy's credibility by portraying him as erratic, paranoid, and needing complete control over every detail, from the music at a party to the drug dosage guests were allegedly given. He didn't just host the parties, though. One witness claimed he planned every minute of them. Diddy's defense has attempted to portray him as a passionate, if misunderstood, artist. But this portrayal isn't holding up after one particularly damaging piece of audio evidence was played that purportedly showed Diddy ordering a woman into a private room. Diddy reportedly flinched when the judge asked if he needed a recess, but he continued to look at his legal team in panic. A few minutes later, he requested a bathroom break and muttered, "I'm shaking." The jury body has taken note of these responses, and language specialists contacted by news agencies speculate that Diddy's physical breakdown, fidgeting, unusual silence, and even his pale complexion may be affecting jurors.